Lisa, hurry home and grab my swimsuit, the blue one. I want to wear it in the water. A familiar, bossy voice jolted me awake. I stared at my sister Alice, still frazzled. She was frustrated, tugging at her hair. Her messy suitcase lay open at her feet, but she couldn't find the blue swimsuit she specifically bought for the beach. Mom and Dad couldn't find it either, so they tried to calm Alice down and urged me to go fetch it. Otherwise, she might cry. I turned to look at the calm, blue ocean, feeling a chill run through me. My skin hurt, and it felt like a giant hand was squeezing my lungs. Downstairs, a girl sitting on her dad's shoulders yelled about how beautiful the ocean was. Too familiar. It was all too familiar. I've been reborn. Back to the day my family came to the beach for vacation. And 4 hours before a 100-meter tsunami is about to hit. We'd just been in the vacation apartment 10 minutes when Alice started demanding I go home to get her swimsuit. I get carsick. Threw up twice on our way here. Now, taking a taxi 2 hours back and forth by myself. Pure torture. Last time, I didn't want to go. I told them about being carsick, and that she could just buy one from a street vendor. They were everywhere. My swimsuit was a cheap street buy, only 20 yuan. But my parents blasted me for that. Can you wear a suit from the street? What if your sister gets an allergic reaction? You're the older sister. Can't you do this little thing for her? It's not all about going for a swim. Grow up a little. They berated me, comparing me to Alice. Like how Alice was cute and bubbly, while I was dull and withdrawn. Alice was talkative, I was quiet. I just pressed my lips together and stayed silent. Look at you, always acting dead. No wonder you only got into a lousy junior college. Your sister's gonna get into a top university with her scores. What about you? That junior college, what's it worth? Running errands is the best you can do. And you're not even willing. Dad hated when I clammed up, so his words got nastier. He forgot why I ended up at a junior college. Or maybe he didn't. It was probably because he got drunk and hospitalized right before my entrance exams, and both Mom and Alice claimed they were too tired to help him, leaving me, the person about to take exams, to care for him. I was exhausted, bombed the exams, and only got into a junior college without a chance to retake the exams. They wanted me to finish quickly and start working. None of them forgot about this, but they always thought it was justified. As long as Alice went to a good school, it was fine. As long as Alice was happy. Like Alice wanted this beach trip after her exams. So, here we were. Even I got to tag along. This was the first time in 19 years my family took me out for fun. But I was carrying most of the luggage, and now had to take a 2-hour trip back for a swimsuit. Lisa, are you deaf? I told you to go home and get my swimsuit. Alice snapped me out of my spiraling thoughts. Her voice was sharp. I stepped away from the window. The peaceful sea felt like a monster with claws. In just 4 hours, a terrifying tsunami would rise from the depths and destroy everything. Lisa, it's your fault for not reminding her. You better go now. My mom scolded, glaring at me. I took a deep breath, shaking off the fear from the tsunami memories. I looked at my mom and thought, why would I remind Alice? I didn't know she'd forget. And why should I remind her? Last time, when I argued, Dad erupted and slapped me to the floor. If we say go, go. Why all the whining? Don't you see your sister's upset? He yelled, ignoring the blood on my lip. That slap broke me. For 19 years, I didn't understand what I did wrong. Why were they treating me like this? So, I lost control and cried hysterically, to the point of nearly passing out. Alice got annoyed, stormed off to play. She said when I was done crying to go get the swimsuit. It's a 3-day beach trip. If not today, then tomorrow for sure. My parents were disgruntled, kicked me a few times, then locked me in the room. Crying won't help. Reflect on it. You come out when you're ready to go fetch it. They sneered and left, locking the door. Like I was just luggage. Thrown into the room. I was shattered, curled up, clutching my knees, sobbing silently, until the evening when the calm sea suddenly roared. The tide turned violent, boiling over everything. By the time I noticed, a monstrous wave approached the shore. Panic, I screamed, twisting the knob to escape, but it wouldn't turn. I dashed to the window, screaming for help. I saw my parents and Alice drive away in a rush. I saw them look at me before getting in the car. Just 3 stories apart, they saw me, but they drove away without a backward glance. I died under the catastrophic tsunami. Lisa, are you mute? One last time, are you going to get my swimsuit? Alice barked for the third time, her face reddening in rage. I hadn't replied once. Dad rose, ready to hit me. A repeat of the last time, and I'd be locked in the apartment, waiting for my death. Hurriedly, I sidestepped, forced a smile. Alice, calm down. This trip's all about you. I'll do whatever you say. I glanced at my dad. Hey, Dad, why not let me bring some Mao Tai for dinner? You could enjoy it with the seafood. His hand paused mid-air, some anger fading from his face. That's more like it. Hurry now, the drive's 4 hours. You'll be back before dark and can still have fun. He retracted his hand and turned to Alice, saying, don't worry, Alice. Dad will take you on a sea scooter in a bit. And I want to ride a helicopter, take some photos. Alice made her request. I know about the helicopter rides over the ocean, 10 minutes for $800. If I'd ask for something like that, my dad would probably kick me, but he immediately agreed to Alice's request. My mom happily gave a thumbs up, saying, Alice is so brave, going on a helicopter ride. Alice looked smug and gave me a quick glance. She was flaunting the affection she received. Meanwhile, all I've gotten growing up were scoldings and beatings. My heart twisted for a second, but then I felt ice cold. After dying once, who cares about trivial affection? Mom, Dad, and Sis, you all stay here by the sea and have fun. I'm going back to get my swimsuit. I left quietly. My parents and sister seemed contented, waiting for me to return in 4 hours. What they didn't know was that 4 hours later, the tide would suddenly recede ominously, and then come back with a monstrous force. Maybe an ocean quake, or perhaps an underwater volcano erupting. Whatever it was, an unprecedented tsunami was about to sweep over the entire resort. I remember clearly, the waves were higher than our apartment hotel, at least 100 meters. An 100-meter tsunami is rare in human history. The 2004 Indonesian tsunami, affecting 14 countries, had a death toll and missing persons of over 270,000, and it was only 51 meters high. Sure, topography and altitude greatly influence a tsunami's effect, and maybe it wouldn't have the same impact in a different area, but this incoming tsunami was a full 100 meters high. Even though our city, City A, is elevated with lots of mountains and dense forests, a 100-meter tsunami, I dared not think further. As hellish images flooded my mind, I started to get anxious. How am I supposed to survive the next 4 hours? I've seen a tsunami before. Those towering 100-meter waves are terrifying. So, I need to prepare for the worst, which means expecting the whole city and nearby coastal areas to suffer. In theory, if I could get on a plane and fly 1,000 miles away, I wouldn't have to worry about anything. But that's obviously not feasible now. It's tough even trying to escape City A, because today is the second day after the college entrance exams, and traffic is chaos. We were stuck in traffic even when we came here. In this situation, getting home within 2 hours would be a miracle. So, I can't just think about fleeing. I need to consider how to take shelter nearby. High-rise buildings might seem like a decent choice, but I dismissed that idea right away. Because in such an apocalyptic level tsunami, all buildings would eventually collapse. No matter how tall, they'd crumble. Thus, the refuge must be sturdy and elevated. So, a mountain. In the eastern suburbs of City A, there's a scenic spot with a peak of 1,400 meters, with good infrastructure, and a Taoist temple that can serve as a haven. I used to volunteer there, so I'm familiar with the area. Plus, it's just a 40-minute drive away, and I can take the highway. It's 2 p.m. now, and when I reach around the Fisher Girl Peak, I can stock up on supplies to take up the mountain. There's enough time. That's it. With plans in mind, I reached the ground floor. As I was about to hail a cab, I noticed a worker passing by with a big bag of tools. The tool bag was full of nails. I stopped him, bought a pack of nails for $10, and poured them under 4 tires of our family car in the parking lot, all sharp ends facing up. Once the car moves, the tires will definitely get punctured. By then, the family would be frantically running while the car's tires deflate at a crazy pace. It'd be quite a sight. Dusting off my hands, I hurried on my way. I must head to Fisher Girl Peak, stock up, and climb the mountain. The car I hailed sped along the highway. I thought the highway would be clear, but it was still jammed, taking us 1.5 hours for a typically 40-minute journey. Worry gnawed at me, and I kept praying for speed. Off the highway, Fisher Girl Peak was just a 5-minute drive. I breathed a sigh of relief and checked the time. 3:35 p.m. I remember the tsunami hit around 6 p.m. I still have 2.5 hours to prepare. I don't need much stuff, just enough to last me a week. After all, tsunamis come and go quickly. Once I survive the first hit, I can wait for government aid. It's a reluctant choice, really. If I had the chance, who wouldn't want to stockpile supplies just in case? But alone, with limited time, carrying a week's worth of supplies is already pushing it. While thinking, as the car passed through a residential area, I got off and headed straight to a local supermarket. I bought a big bag of canned foods, jerky, and energy bars, small in size, but filling. Then, I grabbed some ready-to-eat meals, spiced fish, preserved meat, and dried fruits. They were bulky, so I just took a moderate amount, 1 big bag's worth. Finally, I stopped by a nearby pharmacy for some common medications. Now, with a pack on my back and 2 bags in hand, I felt the strain on my waist. But these supplies would last me a long while. With rationing, definitely more than a week. Water was critical. I only got 3 bottles. 1, because it's heavy, and 2, there's a natural waterfall on Fisher Girl Peak, so water won't be lacking. After checking all the supplies, I called another cab heading straight to Fisher Girl Peak. It's 4:36 p.m. now, with 1 hour and 24 minutes until the tsunami hits. And that's when Alice called me. I answered, and she immediately ordered, "Did you get home yet? Remember to bring my sun hat, the white one. If you're already out, go back and get it. Must bring the sun hat." Hearing Alice's bossy tone on the phone made me want to laugh, like gasping in disbelief. She'd treated me like a servant for over 10 years. I was used to it, always accommodating her, fearing she'd get mad and I'd catch hell. If I hadn't died once, I'd still be scared. Unfortunately for her, Alice can't scare me anymore. Of course, I didn't choose to retort, because there's over an hour before the tsunami hits. If I provoke Alice now, with her fiery temper, she might lose the mood to play and even rush home to deal with me. That way, their chances of escaping would be much higher. Okay, Alice, I'll go back and grab your hat now, but it might take a little longer for me to make it back to the beach. I'm being really obedient. Alice couldn't help but chuckle. I love seeing you being so humble. Keep it up. My mom chimed in, Lisa, since you're going back already, why not bring my makeup too? I wanted to bring it, but it was too much trouble. I sneered internally but agreed out loud, okay, Mom, just wait for me. That's right, be sensible, and everyone will be happy. My dad rarely praised me and decided to chip in too. I still sneered. After hanging up, the car reached the Fisher Girl Peak scenic area. I didn't get off at the main entrance, but at the west gate. There's an employee path here. I used this path when I volunteered before. I looked up at the towering Fisher Girl Peak and felt an overwhelming sense of safety. No place could be safer than this. I took a deep breath and headed straight up the mountain with my supplies. The guy in the guard booth was nodding off, not noticing anyone going up the mountain. It's probably because it's been so hot lately. It's at least 86 degrees right now. Only a fool would climb a mountain in the middle of the day. So, on my hike up, I didn't see any tourists. I'm sure there were tourists, but they must be at the main entrance. I was out of breath from the climb, pausing every 10 steps. Almost dizzy and faint, I finally reached halfway up the mountain. There was a plaza and a cable car here. Although I didn't see many tourists, the cable cars and gondolas were running. I got on a gondola, wiped my sweat, and took out my phone to check the time. 5:26 p.m., 34 minutes until the tsunami hits. The sun was still blazing, and there was no wind on the mountain, showing no signs of an impending tsunami. But my heart was already racing, haunted by the doomsday feeling from my past experience. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath, feeling the mountain wind as the gondola moved, faintly sensing an unusual smell in the air. The tsunami might already be forming in the deep sea, just not here yet. When the gondola finished its loop around the scenic area, I finally reached the mountain top at 5:47 p.m. What greeted me was an ancient-looking Taoist temple. The sun was beating down, heating the air, so there wasn't anyone around. I didn't bother to look for others and headed straight into a side hall. Inside, people could worship. There was a statue of Master Bob, the Taoist saint. During my part-time job here, I used to clean dust off his statue. I paid my respects and sat down, immediately feeling dizzy and weak, too tired and too sunburned. Luckily, everything went as planned, and I was sitting safely in this 1,200-meter high temple. Absolutely safe. It's now 5:52 p.m., 8 minutes until the tsunami arrives. I opened a bottle of mineral water to drink, and Alice's call came again. When I answered, Alice started yelling, "Did you break your leg or something? Why aren't you back yet? I want to wear my bikini and hat to take pictures by the sea, and you're killing me. Even Mom and Dad are rushing you. The sunset's coming soon. Hurry back. We need to take pictures of your sister." A sneer spread across my lips. Sunset, pictures, ha ha, you guys will be dead soon. Now, I had no more reservations, responding with a hint of satisfaction. I'm not coming back to the beach. I'm at home enjoying the AC. What? Alice was stunned, then started cursing. Lisa, are you messing with me? If you're not back, where are my bikini and hat? Who's gonna bring them for me? Are you disabled or something? You're 18. And you're like a kid who's not fully developed. I mean in the brain. Alice was clearly taken aback. There was a moment of silence on the other end. Then I heard Alice yelling, "Lisa, what did you say? You called me disabled. You called me brainless." Her shouting left Mom and Dad on the side all shocked. My dad snatched the phone, his voice sounding harsh. "Lisa, did you insult your sister? Are you crazy?" My mom's voice squeezed in two. "Lisa, what did you say about your sister? Say it again." "Sister is disabled, brainless, disabled, brainless, disabled, brainless, disabled, brainless." I repeated it many times. You, Lisa. My mom was at a loss. The darling she had cherished for 18 years had never been scolded by someone, let alone by the most underappreciated in the family. My dad yelled, "Lisa, just you wait. I'll get home and chop you up and feed you to the dogs." Click. I hung up, unwilling to listen, just waiting for the final 3 minutes. It's 5:57 p.m. now. In those final 3 minutes, since I wouldn't answer calls, my family took the fight to the chat group to berate me. A ton of texts and voice messages came through, but I continued to ignore them, just watching the clock. 1 minute left. By now, Alice had broken down completely. She stopped cursing and instead sent loads of pictures in the group. Pictures of the sea, the beach, selfies. "Lisa, you're so pitiful. Why do I get to play by the ocean while you have to head home? Lisa, you were really brave today, I must admit. Too bad the whole family hates you and wants to beat you to death. I've never been hit since I was a kid, though. Lisa, come out here. Get to the resort right now. I want to rip that stinky mouth of yours apart. I want it to laugh. Too funny. The doomsday tsunami is about a minute away, and here I am, comfortably sitting with a load of supplies in the safest place, while Alice breaks down by the beach, raging like some crazy person. I actually pitied her, so I consoled her. "Alice, after all this yelling, aren't you thirsty? If so, drink up some seawater. After all, the seawater is going to recede soon. Drink it while you can." The next second, 6 p.m. on the dot, the sunset dimmed. That group chat went dead silent. Alice stopped ranting. A strange tension gripped me. Is the seawater receding weirdly? Is that why my family stopped to rant? Then Dad sent me a message. "Lisa, did you go to Fishergirl Peak? I was wondering why you're taking so long to come back. Are you nuts? Climbing the mountain in this heat?" I frowned. How did he know? Then, Dad sent a video call. I thought about it and decided to answer, partly out of curiosity, and partly wanting to witness the tsunami firsthand. When the video connected, Dad, Mom, and my sister appeared on screen. They were sitting under a sun umbrella, still enjoying the gentle sea breeze. The tsunami hasn't hit yet. My heart sank. Did reliving my life change the timeline? "Lisa, why did you run off to Fisherwoman Peak? If I hadn't secretly tracked your phone, I'd never have caught you." My mom started yelling as soon as she opened her mouth. I realized then that she could track my phone. "Lisa, so you went hiking, huh? You must be crazy to climb a mountain in this heat. Ha ha ha." Alice wasn't angry anymore. She kept teasing. "I get it. We scolded you so you had to go somewhere else to play. Of all places, you chose the hottest one, Fisherwoman Peak." I didn't respond. I was watching the not-so-distant sea through the screen. The sea was still calm, blue, sparkling. Could there really be no tsunami? "Why are you silent again? Think you can hide on a mountain, and I'll let you go. I'll break your legs when I get home. My dad was furious, a rage visible all over his face. I had no doubt he might actually kill me. Still silent, I kept my eyes on the sea, my heart pounding faster. Finally, at 6:04, the water started behaving weirdly, then suddenly receded. I felt relief wash over me and couldn't help but smile. The timeline hadn't changed. I just couldn't pinpoint the exact time. Oh, dear sister, you can still smile, huh? Dad's gonna kill you, Alice sneered, only to be cut off. The beach was in chaos. People were shouting in shock. What's happening? Where's the water? My dad turned around, his brows knitted. Yeah, where's the water? I'll go check. He handed the phone to my mom. She took it, staring bewildered at the sea. No one cared about me anymore, and the video was still running. Still, suddenly Alice yelled, I saw this in a textbook. Is it a tsunami? Alice figured it out, but she'd never seen one in real life. So she just stood there, dumbfounded, taking pictures. Ahead, some lifeguards were yelling and waving, back up, run. That command snapped many people out of it, and some began to run back. People tend to follow when others start running. The beach turned chaotic. My dad rushed back and picked up Alice. Run, people are saying it's a tsunami. My mom looked terrified, grabbing the phone as she ran. I could see chaotic, shaky images, mostly of the scrambling crowd. I sighed. These people wouldn't escape it, unless, by some miracle, they could outrun a tsunami in a car. If that didn't happen, there was little hope. With so many people and cars, everything jammed up. Who could outrun a tsunami? Even when it wasn't crowded, hardly anyone could outrun one. While thinking about it, my parents and sister reached the parking lot. At the same time, I heard a massive, awesome sound. It was the roar of the ocean. Oh my God, the sea, look. My mom, shaking, pointed. Even my dad's voice trembled. It's huge. Get in the car, now. Dad, let me in first. Alice was crying, scrambling into the car. The three of them scrambled like eels into the car. The phone was jostled, and I finally saw the tsunami. 100-foot-tall wave was barreling in from the horizon, like an endless dragon. The water was no longer blue, but black and gray, like hellish, endlessly flowing blood. Screams and cries resonated within the storm the tsunami brought, and masses of people fell, trampled, as chaos unfolded. The car started, and my dad gripped the wheel, flooring the gas pedal. The car shot off, but was quickly blocked. The parking lot was chaotic, with hundreds of cars trying to flee, leaving no room to maneuver. Hit them, Dad. Push the car in front. Alice screamed, shaking. My dad said nothing, just slammed the accelerator. I heard a loud crash. A griddled car seemed to be pushed open. Someone shouted, "Are you insane? Crashing us. My wife is pregnant." "Ah, my wife. Get lost," Alice yelled. My dad kept ramming the car forward. Luckily, his car was parked near the exit. Despite hitting some cars and people, they miraculously got onto the road. "We made it. Speed up. Hold on." My dad yelled furiously, flooring the gas, without caring if he'd hit anyone. Alice turned to look at the sea and screamed, "Hurry, it's hitting the shore." The tsunami moved so fast. What could be scarier than a 100-foot wave crashing onto land? "We're going fast. Don't worry. Dad is here," my dad reassured. But then he suddenly screamed like he saw a ghost. "No air. What's happening? All the tires are flat." I laughed. Dad had rushed so much he didn't pay attention to the warning lights on the dashboard. Until they hit the road, he hadn't realized something was wrong. "How are all 4 tires flat?" My mom stuttered. "Honey, stop joking. Go, you're slowing down." "How can I go? There's no air left." My dad tried pressing the gas, but the car kept slowing down. Obstacles from luggage abandoned by tourists, and leaves blown by strong winds blocked the way more and more. With air in the tires, they might have rolled over them, but flat tires, they'd get stuck easily. Alice cried, grabbing the steering wheel. "Go faster. Don't you know how to drive?" She was desperate. Her grabbing and twisting made the car veer into a coconut tree, slamming the 3 of them into the front, almost making them vomit out last night's dinner. "Alice, are you crazy?" my dad yelled, trying to reverse, but the car just whined. Without hesitation, he jumped out, yelling, "Everyone out of the car, move, move." "I don't want to. I'm scared," Alice sobbed. My mom forced her out, asking my dad what to do next. Stop a car, my dad shouted, waving down a ride. Help us, please. The road was chaotic, with cars zooming by, no one stopping. I watched with interest. Wasn't this more thrilling than a Hollywood movie? Sitting cross-legged, I drank some water, munching on spicy fish. The shaky screen finally captured a car coming towards them. My dad was overjoyed. Hey, stop for us. My mom rushed to flag them down, begging for them to stop. But that car not only didn't stop, it sped up, and the driver leaned out and yelled, "You bastard. You're the one who caused my wife to have a miscarriage." Turns out, he was the guy whose car got hit in the parking lot earlier. My dad's face changed dramatically, and he quickly got out of the way. My mom wasn't so lucky. She didn't dodge in time, and got her right leg broken by the hit, falling down and screaming in pain. The phone finally hit the ground too, with the camera pointing up to the sky. I heard my mom's cries. "It hurts so much. Honey, save me, hurry." My dad ran over, his lips trembling. "Is your leg broken? Alice, help your mom." Alice immediately objected. "No, Dad, let's run. The tsunami is coming. Forget about mom." "Alice, what did you say?" My mom was so shocked she forgot the pain. Alice was ruthless. "Your leg's broken. How are we supposed to save you? Why didn't you dodge?" My mom probably never dreamed her favorite daughter would say this. Time was ticking, and my dad quickly made a decision. He picked up Alice, without looking back, and sprinted towards a nearby building. By then, the sound of the tsunami was getting scarier, like a world-ending beast closing in on us. I was so scared, I couldn't even enjoy my spicy fish. But then I thought, I'm up in the mountains, what's there to be afraid of? So I went back to eating, savoring every bite. The next moment, the camera turned, showing my mom's pale face. At the last moment, she could still remember her phone. One hand bracing on the ground, she crawled with all her might, clutching the phone in the other, crying, "Lisa, you're still there? Save me, save mom." I kept chewing my spicy fish, looking perplexed. "Do you think I'm a god?" "Lisa, I was wrong. You hid in the mountains before. You must have known the tsunami was coming. You must know how to save me." My mom was sharp, figuring out my plan. Sadly, in this life and death moment, her mind was too clouded by fear. "I'm not a god. I can't help." So I shook my head. "Can't save you." My mom wept and wailed, crying endlessly, "Lisa, I was wrong. I was wrong. Alice is a real jerk. I should never have loved her. Lisa, save me, from now on. I'll only love you." She stretched her neck like a corpse that crawled out of water. I watched silently. 3 seconds later, the tsunami hit like a giant hand slapping down. Everything in the camera was destroyed, leaving only a murky mess, then darkness. The video cut off. My heart tightened for a moment, then I breathed a sigh of relief. "Mom, in your next life, be a better mom, okay?" After my mom was swallowed, I didn't lose info about the tsunami. My dad and sister started bombarding me with voice messages. I was surprised. Don't they have better things to do? I opened my dad's voice message to listen. "Lisa, I hid in the Starlight Hotel, running straight up to the top floor. This hotel is over 100 meters high. I took your sister to the roof. You need to call for help." I called 911, no answer. "Remember, it's the Starlight Hotel." I listened, feeling speechless. This is an apocalyptic tsunami. What's calling 911 gonna do? Helicopters don't even dare come near the coast. Clearly, my dad had lost his mind too. Consumed by fear, he could only think of me, hoping for me to lend a hand. As I expected, he kept pleading. "Lisa, you ran to the mountains early. You must have known about the tsunami. What should Dad do? Will the hotel collapse?" Seeing I wasn't answering, he continued. "Sweet daughter, Dad really loves you. Just doesn't know how to show it. Fatherly love is silent. Don't blame Dad." I felt nauseous listening. Fear really drops IQ to 0. Just like Mom, both he and Mom thought, because I evacuated early, I must have some way to save them. But I really didn't. Then I listened to Alice's messages. Her voice was urgent and terrified, but somehow still forced a bit sweet. "Sis, I'm with Dad. Can you think of a way to help us? The tsunami is about to hit. I'm so scared." If I remember right, she hadn't called me sis in over 10 years. No wait, actually she did call me sis plenty of times, but always sarcastically. Like, "My dear big sis, why'd you get in trouble again? Dear sis, want my phone? Mom got me the newest Apple. Sis, I actually really like you. Just kidding." Stuff like that, too many times. So I replied, "Dear sister, your big sis has a plan to save you, but she's not gonna." Alice fell for it, kept humbly begging to save her. I was completely unmoved. Just watched her put on a show. Eventually, she snapped, habitually cussing, "You bitch. Are you messing with me? I'll kill you." Dad was the same. Sent dozens of voice messages. I didn't listen to a single one. So he, like Alice, was both scared and angry, going ballistic. "Lisa, do you have no conscience? We are your family. You knew the tsunami was coming, yet you escaped alone. Are you even human?" Dad tried to play the family card. I dropped a bombshell. "I don't have family, 'cause you're all gonna die. Lisa, you filthy thing." Dad's message cut off halfway. The rest was just the sound of surging waves and Alice's screams. Clearly, the tsunami hit the Starlight Hotel. Just as I thought everything had calmed down, Alice sent one last voice message. "Bitch. I'll haunt you even if I become a ghost. The building's collapsing. Lisa, may you never find peace." The last sound was a deafening bang, mixed with crashing waves, shattering glass, and the building's tilt sounds, and with that, it all ended. The one they cursed wouldn't die well, was still alive, while the loving family was all gone. All gone. The phone was silent now. I walked out of the dojo, stood on the viewing platform, looking toward the sea. Here is over 30 kilometers from the ocean, too far to see it, no waves yet. But the air was heavily disturbed. A salty strange smell had already spread here. Even the Fisher Girl Peak was bustling. Finally, I saw some tourists. They were glued to their phones, shocked and anxious. "A tsunami happened. They said it was 100 meters high. Will it reach us here? We're not far from the resort. We're done for. Today the resort has the most tourists." Sigh. The tense air flowed in the crowd, leaving everyone on edge. Soon, this anxiety spread, like thunder striking inside everyone's heart. Because, on the horizon as far as I could see, there was a black wave. It was a flood resulting from a tsunami heading towards City A. "Oh my God, run!" people shouted, racing down the mountain in a panic. They were losing it. Luckily, someone kept their cool and yelled, "Don't go down the mountain, stay up here, it's the safest." The chaotic crowd pressed towards the top of the hill. Some called their families to urge them to escape. Others repeatedly called 911. Filling the air with endless dial tones. I stared at the approaching black dragon, feeling both terrified and stifled. Monks from the temple rushed out and told everyone not to stand at the mountain's peak, because the tsunami would surely bring fierce winds. Everyone moved into the temple. I went back to my shelter too. I'd already stashed supplies behind the monk, only taking them out to eat. A little while later, a thunderous roar erupted, and it felt like the sky was tearing apart. Intense wind and mist, along with the terrifying waves, crashed into Fisherman's Peak. It seemed like the whole mountain trembled, and my heart shook too. Fortunately, Fisherman's Peak wouldn't collapse. The roar of the waves was incessant, and all of City A was submerged. The sky poured down with rain, and the air was filled with sea silt particles, creating a hazy view everywhere. Night fell, making it even harder to see, but the sound of the waves noticeably faded. Typically, a tsunami doesn't last more than 1 or 2 hours. Even a 100-meter tsunami is hard to sustain for long. Now, it was time for the waters to recede. The sea would return to the ocean, but the damage done was irreversible. I lay down on my mat and fell into a restless sleep. I kept having nightmares, dreaming the tsunami was swallowing me up again, struggling to breathe and feeling cold. Just at the moment of death, strangers whose faces I couldn't see desperately tried to save me. A man and a woman, risking everything to save me. I cried out in my dream, "Mom and Dad." When I opened my eyes, tears streamed down my face. My faceless mom and dad were gone. I sat there, stunned, unmoving for a long time. This dream must be the reflection of my inner thoughts. I longed for my parents' love, but unfortunately, my parents had no faces. Because the parents with faces simply didn't love me, they would never enter my dreams. Shaking my head, I got up, my heart as hard as stone. The sky outside had already brightened. Helicopters hovered above, broadcasting encouraging words through loudspeakers. "Dear citizens, the tsunami has passed. Please stay calm. Rescue forces have been deployed. Please follow the rules." Tourists on the mountain top waved joyfully, crying tears of relief. Many more rushed downhill to reunite with their families. I looked down, only seeing endless yellow water. It was seawater, receding, leaving behind devastation, and waterlogged river channels, sinkholes, and bodies. Rescue operations were indeed underway, with helicopters and rescue boats in action. I laughed at myself for being so worried. What a waste of supplies. The sun was out now. I didn't need them anymore. 3 months later, the coastal area mostly returned to normal. I was called to the police station several times, all to identify bodies, but none were my family. My family was probably smashed apart, or dragged into the ocean. In any case, I would never see them again. We couldn't even gather their remains. Naturally, I inherited the family's estate, an apartment, 3 shops, and a rental building. Oh, and a savings of 3.8 million. In City A, that wealth was enough for me to get by comfortably. So I sat in silence for a long time, wondering why, with so much money, my family still treated me the way they did. Even my swimsuit was a knockoff. Honestly, I wouldn't even mind the cheap swimsuit. But why did my sister get name-brand swimsuits, each costing over 300? At last, I could only massage my chest and try to let go. Some parents are naturally biased or maybe just heartless. And because I have a heart, I often linger between pain and despair, yearning for my heart to be filled with a little love. So naive. Lisa, from now on, love yourself well.